these temptations and this battle, if you will, this conflict between God and Satan, this is really showing how Jesus had the moral authority to be king. How he had the moral authority to be Messiah. All right? Now, just simply like this. Jesus comes up and he says, I'm the Son of God. Even though he didn't necessarily directly say it. But I mean, if he were just come, I'm the Son of God. Okay, well, I guess somebody could come up and say, talk's cheap, right? You know, if you're going to make a claim like that, don't you need to back it up? Now, Jesus never came up and just simply talked for talking's sake. But the things that he did backed up who he really was. He did this in his life, which we're going to look at in future weeks, to humanity. But this is something that is going to be backing up who he is in a spiritual sense as well. Because one thing that we need to understand is that this is not just simply a conflict between Jesus and Satan, but it's also a certain dynamic, a certain conflict between Jesus' humanity and Jesus' deity. Now, if you remember when we talked about last week that Jesus was born of a virgin, meaning what? Meaning that he had Mary as his real mother and he had God as his real father. So what did that make him? Well, it made him fully man, fully humanity, but also fully deity as well. If you remember the scriptures we looked at, said that all the fullness of the Godhead, all the fullness of God bodily dwelled in Jesus Christ in the book of Colossians. You remember that one? And so we've got Jesus in his deity and we've got Jesus in his humanity. Which is going to win out? Which is going to take place? Which is going to take control? Is Jesus really fully God? And if so, he's going to be able to overcome these temptations. Is Jesus really fully man? Maybe he's going to succumb to them. And if he succumbs to them, then all of a sudden we've got a whole different situation all at once. Now, what we need to understand is that Satan is using these temptations towards his humanity. Okay? Each and every time there was something that's going to be directed towards Jesus' humanity, and each and every time it's not going to work. For example, the very first one, as far as turning the bread into stones, isn't that attacking Jesus' physical need? Jesus, as far as who he is, he's God, but he's also a man. And as being a man, he's going to be hungry, right? As being a man, he's going to have certain desires, certain cravings, certain physical needs. And so, here is, after being hungry for 40 days, hey, why don't you just turn that stone over there into a loaf of bread? You can do it. You know you want it. You know you need it. Do you see how that human side would be craving something like that? But Jesus' divine side would say, no, it's not going to happen. Same is true with the idea about showing him all the kingdoms of the world. Right? By showing him all the kingdoms of the world and saying, hey, these can be yours. Do you think that Jesus was looking down the road and knowing what was ahead? You know, God's plan for Jesus to receive all the kingdoms of the world, the Father's plan, was that Jesus would go to the cross and experience the pain and the suffering of the cross. Not to mention all the pain and the suffering that he was going to go through with his earthly ministry that was about to start. Do you think that Jesus in his humanity would say, you know what? I've been on this earth for, about these 30 years and it's just not a very fun place. And, I'm looking what's coming up and I'm not looking forward to it. As far as we in our humanity, don't we have a tendency to avoid pain? Absolutely. That's a natural thing, avoidance of pain. But again, Jesus is putting God's will above his own. So his human side is being attacked, but his divine side is saying, no, it's not going to work. Same way with the idea about coming up and saying, here is this, throw yourself down from the temple. Okay? Throw yourself down from the temple. Everything will be fine. Everything will be wonderful. You know, one thing that we see is that when Satan came and tempted Adam, tempted Eve, that Satan used deception, did he not? He came and twisted things and turned things and got Satan to thinking, or got Eve to thinking, hey, all of this is going to be good. All of this is going to be great. But instead of being deceived, Jesus just simply said, no, it's not going to work. In each and every case, all of these things are showing Jesus has the moral authority to be king. Jesus has the moral authority to be the Messiah.